Hey there, welcome to this week's In the Shop with Scott, where the net's close to done. Finish up that monster chopping board, start a new cutting board, and get that thing finished in the 1 week, and made progress on the picture frame. So, hope you enjoy the video. I started off by routing in grooves so it'd be easy to lift the board off a table or countertop. I did this by clamping stop blocks on each side, then made a few passes, slowly working the material away with a 3/4 inch cove bit to minimize tear out and burns. Then over to Mr. Burns 2.0 to engrave my brother-in-law's name. The board is actually too big to close the lid on the enclosure. With all the dust wiped off, it was time to apply Total Boat Wood Honey. This was the first time I've used this product, but it wipes on like most of the other food grade board oils I've used. I'm looking forward to see how it holds up compared to those. I made a run to Mims Lumber and picked up a 10-foot by 6-inch wide piece of 4/4 planed walnut. The first step was to break it down into shorter 20-inch boards. Then rip those into 1 1/4 inch strips. If you saw the shorts I posted a couple days ago, you'll know this is going to be a cutting board. With enough strips to get a 13-inch wide board, it was time to glue it up. While the glue was drying, I turned my attention back to the picture frame and routed a rabbet on the back side. I lowered the bit a little bit on each pass. Next, I trimmed the ends of the top and bottom rails to a 9-degree angle to match the dovetail joints. I think this will be a subtle touch that some people might pick up on. The router left rounded inside corners on the rabbet, so using a sharp chisel mallet, I squared these up. Happy with the fit and finish, I did a final sanding before the final glue up. Thank you to my neighbor Tony. He suggested a name for the benchtop belt sander. It will now be called Dusty because the dust collection just isn't good on it. Satisfied with the sanding, I glued and clamped the frame, then set it aside to dry. It was time to run the walnut board through the planer. This is the reason why I could only go to 13 inches, as it barely squeezes through. The grain on this one is oh so nice. I tried a couple new camera angles as I trimmed up the edges, but I forgot to turn off tripod mode, so there's a little shakiness. With the lessons learned from the last board, I moved on to adding the radius to the corners. Then rounded over the edges, but I'll save you that since I just did it on the last video as well. And trying another angle as I add the finger grooves. What do you think? I'll save you the boredom of watching me water pop another board. It was finally time to drill the holes in the hoop for the net. I found this technique of using painter's tape to measure the length of the hoop works really well. I mark where I want the first and last loop on the tape. Then lay it out on the workbench, Measure the distance between my marks and divide by 14, the number of spaces between the net loops. I cut a spacer to that length and use it to mark the hole locations. Now it's just a matter of putting the tape back on the hoop. Using a support block to keep from tearing out the back side, I drilled the 15 holes needed. I then gave a light sanding to remove any rough spots from the holes that were drilled. Now on to finishing. I first applied 2 coats of Total Boat Gleam varnish with a brush to make sure I got some in the holes to help seal up the wood. I then sprayed 4 more coats to bring out the shine. I did this outside to keep from coating my tools like when I sprayed the canoe in the shop. One other lesson I learned after the first coat was how to hang it to dry. On previous nets, I had an eye hook on the end of the handle for the lanyard, but on this one I was using a hole in the handle instead. In a moment of genius, I screwed the eye hook in the center hole of the hoop and was good to go. With the walnut board dry, I gave it the final sanding. I then marked and drilled holes to add rubber feet. This board is a special gift for some of our really good friends that are getting married in a few weeks. I hope you enjoyed the video. On the next episode, I'll be wrapping up the net and getting closer to done on the picture frame. Thanks for watching.